and today we're talking the Chainsaw Man. I am your host, Reese Chanson. Welcome to Bankai, the anime podcast, and today we're looking at the Chainsaw Man, like as I already mentioned. This is by Fujimoto. Great, one of the best manga producers of all time by my calculations. Now, the Chainsaw Man is based on a manga, of course. Apparently, it's going to be a 12 episode anime. Now, the anime itself is quite interesting. A whole lot of stuff in there that most people may not be aware of, and it's built with so much culture and so much character in it. Like the character development in there, it promises to be quite extraordinary. First things foremost, this is based on apparently there are devils in this thing. Now, there are devils, yes, but there's a weird variety of devils. Like there's a devil with a chainsaw on his head and it's a dog. There's a devil who looks like a tomato with arms and legs. There's a zombie devil who consumes people. There's a whole bunch of weird shit in this thing. It's very chaotic in terms of the the devil creations. But the storyline here is all these devils are born or created out of human fears. So these devils are from hell, yes. And in order for a devil to come to earth, has to die in hell. And in order for a devil that was on earth to go back to hell, has to die here. So basically it's vice versa. It's like a rotational cycle. You get killed in hell, you come to earth, you get killed in earth, you go back to hell, and so basically all the weaker devils usually come into the earth and they get killed by these so-called devil hunters, or other devils per se. So another thing is that human beings can make contracts with these devils and sort of do other deeds, either being good or evil deeds, but they can work together. And of course a devil can take over or possess the body of a human being in a way, or body of a human being, or human being nearing its death in a weird way. So the story is or the events of the story are based in 1997. So this is based on the early 90s. That's the whole premise of the story. And the lead protagonist is called Denji, who's a young boy who has a very horrible life. First, this dude is eating bread every day, feeding his dog bread, eating bread himself. Oh, it's so heartbreaking. And to top that off, his father commits suicide, and he owes this guy called Yakuza a whole lot of money. And this Yakuza fella sort of forces Denji to pay the debt his father owed. What kind of nonsense is that? It's the new age world, man. Back in the day, if your father owed money, you had to pay money. Nowadays, if it's from the bank, it's the bank's problem. Unless your father puts you as a liability in case they can't pay and you have to pay, which is a weird thing, but that's a story for another day. Important thing here is this is such a Holocaust film. It's such weirdly made. Now, this is a weird show. It really is weird. Now, of course, Denji eventually joins this towards the final episode, really. Towards the final minutes of the first episode. He seems to be recruited by this public safety devil hunter society of some sort. Of course, if you read the manga, you probably know who these people are and what they're about. They even give him the option of him living or getting killed. So it's going to be an interesting, and I cannot wait for the second episode to come out. But of course, Fujimoto is a huge phenomenal fan of cinema, and the movie references in this episode, the first episode, let's not even talk about the second, the third, those are not even out there, but there are over 11 movie references in this entire episode. We are talking I'm gonna list them as fast as I can. There's Constantine, there's Don't Look Up, there's Don't Look Up, not the one that with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, the one in the 1966 film, I think. There's Pulp Fiction, there's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's No Country for Old Men, there's Jacob's Ladder, There's La Divina Comedia. There's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. There's a whole bunch of references in this thing. And I gotta say, Fujimoto is quite an incredible animator, and I gotta say, this is something for everyone to check out. So it's a really great animation. I'm not even talking about the fact that there's so many devil hunters in this thing. There's so many devils, and the devils are weird, as I already mentioned, so that makes the whole thing quite interesting as a whole. Now, Denji makes a contract with this pet or dog with a chainsaw and a handle. Weird stuff anyway. They make a contract of some sort. In the beginning, that is. Pochetta, that's the dog's name. I don't know if he gives it to him or the dog tells him the name. But before that happens, I don't think there is no communication of some sort. Anyway, so the dog sort of drinks this guy's blood, and they make a pact where Denji tells Pochetta, the dog, that since I've helped you survive, you've got to help me. So in hindsight, they help each other. Denji becomes a devil hunter, but using the dog itself to kill off other monsters. The first monster he kills in the first episode that we get to look at is the the tomato monster. And I've already mentioned that he works for the Yakuza, this fella called the Yakuza, to pay off his father's debt by working as a hunter. And Yakuza fella takes all the monsters, all the devils that he kills, and sells them off, their body parts, in the black market. Of course, he rips them off entirely because he gives them a little money, and he takes off the debt in itself. So it's problematic in that sense. But towards the end, Fujimoto does something quite incredible in my opinion. He does this transformation thing, which is weird in a way that I really enjoyed. The whole transformation itself, where he becomes the Chainsaw Man. In the beginning, it's really just a dude with a dog that looks like a chainsaw. But when he fuses with the Pochetta and becomes the Chainsaw Man, when Denji and Pochetta fuse together, that's when he becomes the Chainsaw. And that's the whole premise and the whole beginning of this beautiful arc that we're about to embark in. Now, of course, this also happens by when Denji gets slaughtered, murdered really. Some of his blood spills into Pochetta's mouth, and he sort of, consumes or absorbs or fuses with Denji, and they become the Chainsaw Man. Now, when you look at the anime itself, it's quite crazy. This dude's got hands for chainsaw, and his head is a chainsaw itself. And the animation work on that is quite beautiful. Like, every single blade is moving at an extreme rate, and it's quite impressive. But the fact that this is based on 2D and 3D animation, there's lack of CGI with this thing, so that makes it quite incredible to watch. Now, I would so much spoil everything, like, oh, there's this whole zombie attack, and this devil it's got this Yakuza fella possessed, and it's all, I could say all that, but I really don't want to say that, could spoil the whole thing. And I'm not really, it's not gonna be one of those podcasts or one of those YouTube shows that is gonna make you tell you the whole thing about the whole thing. I don't want to do that. I'd like you to find out, watch for more, because if I tell you everything that's gonna happen, you're necessarily not going to enjoy every waking moment of the damn thing. Now, bear in mind, please hit the subscribe and like the video if you're watching this on YouTube, and of course if you're listening to this on any podcast distribution site, either being Spotify, Google, Apple, whatever you may be listening at, please follow and hit the like or subscribe button depending on where you are. Most of these things have weird things. Yeah, rate. Most of them have this rate thing. Oh, I'm gibberish again, so I apologize for that. Anyway, Chainsaw Man, it's one to look out for. It's quite interesting. It's something completely different from what I've seen. Anime world usually has a lot of weird shit. This is quite interesting. Denji it's really interesting. The whole point of him trying to get a girlfriend, he's lonely, he's sad, fatherless, parentless, a young man. It's quite interesting. Now, would I recommend a young child to watch this? I don't think so. It's very gruesome. There's a lot of blood dripping. There's a lot of gruesomity, grotesque. It's pretty violent. Yeesh. Anyway, thank you for watching or listening, depending on where you're getting this content from, either it being YouTube or the other podcast platforms. Anyway, thank you. Like, subscribe, rate, what's the other word? Share with your buddies. I don't know.